and I think
And wait, if you could wait till the clock starts. All right, go.
I first want to state on the public record that, as some people stated, the confirmed heat death list isn't yet fully available, but heat deaths are historically undercounted, and like reporting that has occurred in other states like Texas, I believe and will prove eventually that there are many deaths, especially within our unsheltered community, where heat absolutely was a contributor to these deaths, but they are not being counted. I just think for this city to be taking, by all of you, like some crazy victory lap over a handful of preventable deaths is gross, personally. More than 1,000 unsheltered residents died from all number of things in Maricopa County in 2024, FYI, which is another, in my opinion, failure of the city. As my councilwoman pointed out, I was trying to help a 78-year-old unsheltered woman this whole weekend and still today. Within your plan, I'm still not seeing simple low-hanging fruit like plastering posters with info at convenience stores and public bus and light rail stops. There's no mention of whether free transport will still be available to people. There's no solutions for how to keep people safe who do have broken ECs, or how they can get fast funding for repair. A handful of water fountains in the sprawling city doesn't cut it. How often does this city actually enforce your cooling policy for landlords? Because I hear from community on the regular that it's not very often. Why is everything date versus temp based when people die from heat from April through October? And just yesterday, when I was in the zone, it was 95 degrees in March. You talk about shaded bus stops, yet 12th Ave and Jefferson, an area with high death counts, still doesn't have a shaded bus stop, which I've personally been advocating for many, many years now. Why isn't the city or mayor advocating to have SRP stop disconnecting people's power in dangerous temperatures? They're pushing for statewide utility disconnect rules. I say these things knowing there are people working on these issues who deeply care. This isn't meant to disparage them. But as someone who has read every single heat death report for Maricopa County for many, many years now, and not just the medical examiner's report, I read the investigator reports where there's a whole lot of details and information, everyone for years before there was even press on it. I can tell you that a lot of lives could have been saved by a more proactive versus reactive response to these issues. Many of you have been here watching this unfold for all these years. And it's my personal opinion that Phoenix is still failing to protect our most vulnerable residents. I also find the plan somewhat vapid, if I'm being honest. And I feel it's important to add that people at overnight cooling centers were not even allowed to lie down last year. So there's a difference between a shelter and a cooling center, just not being able to lie down overnight, which I find is cruel, honestly. And also, to some of the questions getting asked today, that data could be gathered really simply if the death investigators in not just Maricopa County, but all counties used the CDC supplemental heat death investigator form. It is a fill-in-the-blank form. I did an interview with the New York Times about it last summer. According to Will Humble, it is a very simple rule change at the state level with public health. And there was at least one man, and I think actually two, who died right outside of City Hall.
Reverend Sexton, followed by Jenny Spann.